So what is going on, everybody? Fernando Silva here with another video, and Apple released iPadOS 15.4 Beta 4 earlier this week, I think on Tuesday, and we've been using it ever since. So what I wanted to do today was go over some new features that we did find, because there's one interesting one in the notifications that I did want to share with you guys that we did find a couple days later, but then also just want to talk about battery life, how performance has been, talk about iPadOS 15.4 in general and all the new features that we've gotten with each beta iteration, and then finally talk about Apple's March 8th event, which again, it hasn't been announced, but everything is pointing towards Apple doing a March 8th event, which will again release iOS 15.4 and iPadOS 15.4, as well as probably macOS 12.3 and the other betas that have been going on during the beta program. So without further ado, let's pull out the iPad, see what we got going on, and then talk about that March event. But let's get it. So let's get right into this video, everybody. I'm gonna pull up the iPad screen over to my left over here so you guys can see what I'm doing in real time. Figured this would be a little bit easier, but the first thing I do wanna show you is, again, with the AirTags. So Apple changed the AirTag pairing process. So from the pairing process, it still works, but now you get a new prompt with those AirTags to let the people know, or the new owner of that AirTag know, that you're only supposed to be using this for your own personal items. It's not meant to be used for pets, it's not meant to be used to track people or cars or things like that. And it's especially not used to be tracking other items that aren't yours. So you see that this prompt is right here. So it says AirTags intended solely to track items that belong to you. Using AirTags to track people without their consent is a crime in many regions around the world. And then you do have to agree to this statement. So by agreeing to that statement, Apple is kind of covering themselves when it does come to these kind of crime actions that have been going on with AirTags, with tracking people, stalking cars. Like, it's been happening a lot with these AirTags, and that just means that the AirTags, I guess, are working really well. But again, Apple is changing that prompt to let you know, like, hey, don't use this for stuff that isn't yours. Use it for yourself and use it to find your lost or stolen items, and that's it. And then to keep going with the new Find My and the AirTag situation, we actually got an update to the Me section of the Find My application. So this is the Find My application, which I pulled up, and you can see that you have the 4 prompts on the bottom. You have devices, people, items, and then Me. But then if you scroll into the Me section, you now have a bunch of new prompts and kind of quick actions for your safety, right? So you have use this iPad as my location, edit location name, customize Find My notifications, and then customize tracking notifications. So that is actually the newest one. So if we click on that, it brings you to this tracking notification section, which is a great segue into this new feature. But another way to access that is if you go straight into your settings, go into notifications, you see that you're gonna have a new prompt or a new section called tracking notifications. And that's in there to, again, let you know if somebody is tracking you or stalking you. So if Apple senses that there's an AirTag around you that isn't yours and it's been around you for at least 30 minutes, it's gonna prompt you and say, hey, there's an AirTag around you that isn't tied to your Apple ID. Are you sure it's yours, or are you sure it isn't yours? And then it'll let you know like where it is so you can discard of that AirTag. So having that there from Apple's side is great to see, and it's there by default, but you can turn it off. So if you do want to turn it off, you can, but I highly recommend leaving it turned on. And I do think Apple should add maybe like a warning prompt if you do want to turn it off, like, hey, we're just doing this for your own good, to let you know that, hey, you aren't being stalked by somebody else's AirTag. So that is a new tracking notification. And again, it's accessible either via the Find My app or the regular notification section of your settings. And then lastly, with this Beta 4 update, we did get a new Siri voice. So if we go into Siri and search, and then if you go into Siri voice, you see that there is a 5th voice under the American section. Again, that is the only voice that was added. And I did ask you guys in my last video if you saw maybe a region-specific voice. So if you are in Australia, you got one, or maybe if you're in England, or if you're in India, or you're in Ireland, maybe you got a different voice and it's maybe region-specific. But I don't think that actually happened, and we only got a 5th American voice. And now let's talk about performance on this thing. So performance on this has been absolutely amazing. I've been using it still as my daily driver. I still edit all my LumaFusion videos, even though I am on a beta software. So we go into the settings, go into general, go into the about. You can see that I am on 15.4 with that ending moniker of A. So you guys know that I'm on the latest beta 4 update, but you can see I use LumaFusion every day. Multitasking still works great, so I can swipe down, open up a files tab, move stuff around. Nothing has really been deterred with this beta update so far, so if you guys do want to jump on it, I do recommend it because it's been working very quickly. The 120 FPS on ProMotion has been working amazingly. Probably not a great translation with a screen recording, but overall just know that I've had zero detrimental situations when using the beta program, and I can say that for pretty much the better part of the last 2 years because I've been on beta programs since iPadOS 13. And then the last thing I do want to touch on is the actual battery life. So if we go into settings, let's go into battery. Let's see how we've been doing because again, these are one of the things that I wish Apple did better, especially on the M1 iPad Pro when they promised 8 to 10 hours of battery life. But you can see that on a day like today, we did almost 5 hours of screen on time. But if we go in the last 10 days, we're averaging about an hour and 40 minutes of screen on time, only 30 minutes of screen off time. If you go on a day like Thursday, almost 3 hours of screen on time, and it seems like we used up about 100% of battery, so that is literally a no bueno. But if you go on a day like Tuesday, we did 3 hours of screen on time, but you can see that it took up almost 150% of my battery because I was plugged in. So battery life has not been great with the beta updates, so keep that in mind. I just hope Apple, with the public release, does fix the battery life issues. But you can see 3 hours of screen on time, and we've been doing about 60% battery, so maybe a day like today we can get 5 to 6 hours. But again, if you're doing some really task-intensive stuff, like editing video, like editing photos in Affinity Photo and things like that, then the battery life is going to drain much, much faster. If you're on Safari, if you're in YouTube, if you're on Netflix, you can probably get 8 to 10 hours of playback time, but outside of that, if you're doing some real actual work on this thing, it's going to suck up that juice pretty badly. But that's going to do it for this part of the video. Let's finish this up and go to the normal view. So as you guys can see, iPadOS 15.4 seems very ready to go for that release candidate edition, which should come out on Tuesday of next week. And with that release candidate edition, that means that's going to be the final build. That's going to be the build that's going to go out to the entire public, and that's what everybody's going to receive. And iPadOS 15.4 did bring a lot of new updates, right? I usually only talk about the betas as we go on, but with the first beta, we got the new face unlock on the iOS side, but we also got universal control on the iPadOS side. We also got some fixes to SharePlay for it to work on more applications, more native applications, and more applications like third-party ones like Disney Plus and things like that. So it was a pretty substantial update. And then we had the new AirTag situation, right? With those prompts to make sure that Apple isn't liable when it does come to people tracking other people with AirTags. So overall, Apple's made some nice updates, especially coming from 15.3. which really brought nothing. 15.3 was probably the least substantial update system so far. So overall, 15.4 has been rocking. We're probably gonna get the public release on March 8th, which I believe is a Tuesday, but I'll check on the calendar because that's when the March event should be if it does happen. Again, Apple hasn't announced anything of a March event, but we should be expecting 3 main things in that March event. The first one being the iPad Air 5. If you guys want to check out my video on the rumors and leaks on iPad Air 5, it's probably the most recent video aside from this one, so definitely check it out. I'll link it down below. But we should also be getting some M1 iMacs or M1 Max iMacs, and then as well as a new iPhone SE 3, possibly in this March event. So I'm pretty excited for this spring event. Let's see if it actually does happen. I do believe it's happening because of all the rumors and leaks that we've seen, or maybe Apple just does kind of like a quiet launch of all these new products, which they've done in the past before with AirPods Pro and things like that. But overall, I'm very happy with Apple's beta program. If you guys want to sign up today, go for it. It's absolutely free for the public developer program, and it lets you play with universal control, which I do recommend. But that's going to do it for this video, everybody. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. Leave a little dolphin in the comments below, just so I know who did make it to the end. But that's going to do it for this video. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you're on the beta program, or what you're most excited about with the public release, which should come in the next 2 weeks. But that's going to do it. I'm out of here.